Hi friends, it's Becky, and I'm going to be making a fun little bracelet using some of the beads that came in this Spice Market treasure box from Potomac Beads. I opened this up a little bit earlier this last week. If you want to see the unboxing and all the other beads that are in there, I will put the link to that in the description below. But I'm going to be using some of these Ava beads that we got in the box. And I'm also going to be using some of these like honey colored 4mm Druck beads, some of these 3mm fire polish beads, these dark ones here, and one of the square table cut beads that came in the box. And I'm going to be using this instead of a button for a closure. So I'm going to show you how we do that using some beading wire. I have some copper colored beading wire because we've got this copper color on the Ava beads, and I thought that would look great together. And even though we got some 11/0s in the box, I wasn't feeling this color of 11/0s with that color palette. So I dived into my stash and I got some of these 11/0s that I had in there. They're the hybrid natural Picasso, and they're these guys right here, and I think that they are gorgeous and beautiful. So I am going to be using a magical crimper to crimp my beading wire, and I've got some wire cutters. These are flush cutters, but you can use any wire cutters to cut your beading wire. And I think that's about it. I've got some 2x2 crimp tubes to use with that. These are also copper colored. So let's get into it. I need enough wire to go around my wrist twice with a little bit extra for crimping. So about 18 inches should do. I'm going to want to find the middle and double it up, because what we're going to be doing when we go through these Ava beads is they're going to be offset like this, and I'm going to have some of these beads in between them, and then we'll have another set again offset like this with these 3mm beads in the little section. And I'm just going to alternate those as I go along, but I'm going to have the two strands go through the beads like that when I do it. So let me get these back over here. And the reason I've got the Ava beads divided up in between two different piles is because these ones are wide enough for the 4mm to fit in, and these are not. So that's why I've got the 3mm beads that we're doing. And how do you know which ones are wide and which ones aren't? You just try them out and see if they will fit. That's what I did. So let me show you how we're going to turn this square bead into a button closure. I've done this before with some like coin-shaped beads, especially table cut coin-shaped beads. They're fantastic for that. And I'm just going to show you how we do that right here. Let me get this down at the bottom of the middle of my thing. I'm going to put both of my wires through my crimp at the same time, going in the same direction. There we go. Then I'm going to slide my crimp down all the way to the end and make sure that this is going to stay in the middle. All right, and this is the part where we're going to get a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. I want to push this crimp right up against the edge of this bead. There we go. Just right up against it. I have to pinch it and pull, or even grab some pliers to push it up there a little bit better. I want both these ends of the wire to be as flat as I can get against the back of this. I don't know if my fingernails are going to be strong enough. There we go. And then I'm going to crimp right here. So once I've crimped it, then it'll be secure. And I'm going to use my magical crimper because it's my favorite way of crimping, but regular crimps will work on this too. Any kind of crimp will work. For the magical crimper, I'm going to be centering the crimp in this concavity on the inside of it, like this. Give it a smush, then turn it to the side, give it a smush, and just keep kind of smushing it at different angles as you go around until it's finished crimping. And then you have a nice little round ball of crimp. And now I've got this bead sticking out. And when I get to the other end, I'm going to end up making a loop with the wire, and I'll probably put some beads around it that can fit around that to make a little button closure. All right. Now let's add some 11-0 beads. I'm going to scooch back just for a minute so you can see the whole thing. I'm going to add some 11-0 beads to each of these ends of my wire. And I think because the Ava bead is going to be kind of at an angle, I'm going to have more on one wire and fewer on the other. I think I want 6 on one end. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 4 on the other. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Like that. Right, and now the short end is the one that I'm going to end up going through both legs of the Ava bead, because an Ava bead has 3 holes. It has a hole on each of these legs, that's the first 2, and then it's got one through this pointy end. So I'm going to be putting this strand through the 2 legs. There we go. This strand through the 2 legs, and then I'll put this second strand through the pointy end, but I'm going to wait to do it through the pointy end until after I've done the legs, because the legs are the fiddly part. What I'm going to want to do is put this through here, then also get it through my 3mm bead, and then keep going through the second leg. And doing it this way is a little bit fiddly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cradle this Ava bead with both of the legs sticking up, put that 3mm bead right there where I want it to be, and kind of angle and wiggle this wire until I get it through the first leg of the Ava bead, the fire polish bead, and the second leg of the Ava bead. And now that I've got that through there, I can take my second wire and put it through the pointy end of that Ava bead. And bloop, there it is. I'm going to put a single 11-0 seed bead on each of my wires just to give me a little bit of a buffer between my Ava beads, like this. Bloop. All right, I really got to stop saying bloop. I don't think it really like adds to this or anything. All right, but now for my second one, it's going to be facing the other way. So if I've got this, I've got the legs pointing towards me and the pointy end away from me. My next one is going to be with the pointy end towards me and the legs opposite me. So the strand that I'm going to put through the legs will be the one that I just put through the point over here. and it's going to be exactly the same. Get my little Ava bead there, drop that 3mm fire polish in there, and then start maneuvering my wire if I can. It is a little bit fiddly. Oop. Let's turn that this way, that way. Boom. Aha, got it. And keep going to the other side, like that. And so again, the fiddliest part is going to be that getting the wire through one leg of the Ava, the fire polish, and the Ava bead. The next part is going to be pretty simple because you just put the other wire through the pointy end. And it will be a little bit wavy, but not super wavy when we're all done. All right, and now because I'm going to be alternating between these fire polish beads and these drugs, I just really love that yellow. I wanted it to be part of this design. Let's get a single 11-0. And this wire just went through the point, so it's the one that I'm going to put through the legs. It's the same way as this. I'm just using a different bead in the middle. It's going to be one of those 4mm drucks. And again, you go through the leg, into the druck, and then into the other leg. If you're going through and trying to find out which ones the druck will work on, which ones they won't, the only way you know is by trying it. If it will not go into that second leg, it's probably one that would need a 3mm bead. Or you could just do this with 3mm beads and not even worry about the 4mm beads at all. That would be perfectly fine. That would probably save on a little bit of headache when you're trying to figure out which ones you're going to use for which. And then I'm going to do a second one using the druck. Oh, don't forget to put your little spacer beads. You don't actually need these 11-0s between them, but I like that little look of separation. If you didn't, they'd just be kind of right next to each other, like that, which would still look pretty cool, I think. All right, so this one is the one that we're going to put through the legs. This is basically 2 3mm, 2 drucks, and I'm going to repeat that with 2 3mm and 2 drucks until I get to the opposite end. And once I've got it long enough, and I'm going to keep going till I get to about 7.5 inches, because that's how long my wrist is. And that's going to be measuring from here to where I want to make my loop, 7.5 inches. So when I get to that, I will come back and I'll show you how to finish this up, but I'm going to just repeat that with the 3mm and then the 4mm and keep going till I get to the end. I'm probably going to be ending with a 3mm when I get there. All right, so I have finished my repeats. This measures to about 7.25 inches, almost a ½ inch. I did run out of the Avas that would fit the drucks, so these last 4 have the 3mm fire polish beads, but I'm going to use this in my end as well to kind of keep that color going. All right, so on this end, I'm going to want it to sort of mirror this other side. See with this longer end over here, I'm going to put in the 6 seed beads on this end of my wire, and then we'll do 4 on the other end. So that'll be, if I can get them on there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this side we'll do 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, I'm getting that crimp tube. So I'm going to crimp both of these wires together right there next to those seed beads. I'm going to use my fingernail to make sure that it's not right next, but close enough. I'm going to need 2 crimp tubes for this. And I'm going to put the crimp tube on both of these wires so we can crimp them together. Then we're going to prep for making our loop. I'm just making sure that the beads are all nice and tight and where I want them to be for that. Scooch this next to there. It looks like there is just a little bit of space between that crimp and these beads, and that's exactly what I want. So I'm going to pinch that there to keep it from moving and do my initial crimp. And then rotate around. I want to crimp it from different angles. All right. I'm going to cut one of these wires. I'm going to go ahead and choose the short one to cut. One of them is just a little bit longer than the other. It's not really short. I'm going to cut right next to that crimp. Then I am going to pop this druck bead on there. And it's actually going to be a little bead between the crimps. What that'll do is it'll just give it a little bit of extra decoration, but also make it so I don't have like just 2 crimps right next to each other. So let me get my second crimp tube on here. Let's use this one. It's going to end up being right there. But now I need to make a loop with some beads that's long enough to fit around this, but not so long that it'll slip off while I'm wearing it. So let's try 12. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I can count and do this at the same time, that would be great. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It'll probably be more than this, but I want to start with this to see. Yes, it will need to be more than this. Let's add about 5 more. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. That makes 17. I'm just pinching the wires together close to the end to see if they'll come apart. Okay, I'm gonna add one more because because I don't want it to be difficult to get it over. Let's test it with that one more. I'm just going to be adding them one at a time until it feels like it's right. That feels right. That's 18 of them. All right, so now that I've got my 18 seed beads on my wire, I'm going to bend it back and put it through that crimp tube again. Pull this through. There are a lot of tutorials out there using like 2-hole seed beads or like these Ava beads. A lot of them are a little intimidating if you are not a bead weaver, or if you have started but aren't really comfortable with complicated patterns that go in and out and put together like 5 different types of beads. Or wait, how many different types of beads do I have in here? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. I've got 4 types of beads in this one, so I'm good. But I don't know, one of the reasons I wanted to start making videos is so that I could start using some of these fun beads that might seem a little scary if you're used to stringing, and just show you that you can use some beading wire and put these beads on the beading wire and make a really cool neck bracelet without having to thread a single needle in order to do that. So now that I've got this loop here, I'm just wiggling my thumbnail between the seed beads and that crimp to give myself some room so the edges of my crimp can get down onto the crimper, or to the crimper. Crimper can get onto the crimp without breaking any of the seed beads. I just don't want them to be in the way. All right, so now I've got my second loop. Let's clip that end of my wire. Pull this up, get real close. There we go. Now let's double check that will actually close, because if not, then I'm going to need to start all over again. Ta-da! There we go. And I'm just doubling checking that it's not going to come loose while I'm wearing it. This is all sorts of nonsense, and it's holding up to the nonsense. So there you go. We have a bead used as a button. We have some Ava beads strung on some beading wire. And this is my first design from the Spice Market Treasure Box from Potomac Beads. It is a monthly bead subscription box that gives you the freedom to figure out your own designs without having to do a kit. I also subscribe to the kit subscription, which is a lot of fun. And it's a great way to learn bead weaving if you would like to start doing that. I will put a link in the description to both my unboxing for this and also to Potomac Beads, where you can sign up or check out some of those subscriptions if you wanted to. Anyway, I hope that this was fun and enjoyable for you, and that hopefully 2-hole or even 3-hole beads like this won't be quite so intimidating, because you can do things with it. You don't have to use a beading needle in order to do some fun things with it. I hope you'll have a fantastic week, a fantastic evening. Happy beading.